Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a Q&A from one of my subscribers. She emailed me a while back with a bunch of questions, and today's video is just going to be about answering them, since all of them were pretty general and not just focused on her. Thank you Ashley Prince for all your great questions, and I can't wait to answer all of them. Okay, so the first question is basically, sorry, some of them are in Afrikaans. Was I in res in my first year, and which res do I think is better? So no, I was not in res in my first year. I have never been in res. I probably will never be because of my dog. I will go wherever she is allowed. So I do plan on making a whole video about residences for main campus and on OP, what it's like to live in them, which are better, which are not. I don't think there are any that are particularly bad. We had quite a variety of different reses in our group, and everyone seemed to be fairly happy. So I will do a whole video on that as soon as I can, but for right now, I honestly don't have much of an answer. Question 2. When you shadowed at a vet, what clothing did you wear? Like overalls or scrubs or something? So I did not wear overalls or scrubs. It was basically just anything that you are willing to get rid of. Not necessarily would get rid of, but what you would be willing to get rid of. So I always definitely wore closed shoes just because you are working with animals, and you know, you have to be able to move fast, and you know, you have to be able to walk places that you would not necessarily want to, like, you know, through some excretions. So definitely don't wear flip-flops to the vet. It's just not the best idea, especially if you're going out with a large animal vet and you're going to farms, and you know, you might be working with a horse and the horse steps on your toe and all of that. Just wear closed shoes. So I always wore closed shoes and then long pants, preferably something that you'd be willing to get rid of, just because you do have a lot to do with bodily fluids. Obviously you don't try to get it on your clothes, but the chances that that'll happen is definitely there. And then also I always try to wear something presentable, something a bit more on the neat side, just because you are representing the vet that you are working with, so you want to try and make a good impression on the clients, and you're also representing yourself as a future vet. So if you go there and you look horrible, then that vet would probably never recommend you in the future, and would probably also not consider you as a future employee if you ever wanted to. So it is just something to keep in mind, that you should always be presentable if you are working in a veterinary field where you could be doing up clients or contacts or something like that. So just practical and presentable, basically. Question 3. What type of vet do you want to be? Large or small animal? So I still haven't decided. I am leaning towards equine vet. The one thing that is definitely putting me off from that is the people that you would have to work with as an equine vet. As someone who has been doing horse riding for most of my life, I've had a lot to do with horsey people and horse owners, and you know, I know how pushy and unpleasant some people could be, also how know-it-all a lot of the clients could be, which really annoys me. Like, if you know exactly what is wrong with this horse and what's supposed to be done, then why did you call me? Like, really, I didn't ask to be here, but sure, you know, so not all horse people are like that, but I have met my fair share, and yeah, just have to decide if I am willing to work with that. Question 4. What has been the most challenging thing so far in your studies except the pandemic? So that is a difficult question, because the pandemic has probably caused most of the difficult things in my studies, stuff like working online, not having any interaction with the other students, not having practicals, all of that. But except for the pandemic, I would say the hardest thing has probably been to balance everything. And this was especially a problem before the pandemic, actually, when I had moved to my own place close to OP, and I would come home every weekend, and then my parents would want to see me, the rest of my family would want to see me, they would want to spend time with me, I want to spend time with my boyfriend, I want to spend time with my friends, because all of them I would only see once a week. And then in the end I wouldn't be able to do any of that, at least not properly, because I would constantly have to work. So I would be at my parents' house and not be able to spend time with them because I am busy with my studies. I would go to my boyfriend's house and not be able to spend time with him because I'm busy with my studies. I would not be able to spend any time with myself because I'm constantly busy with my studies, and I'm not busy with my studies. I'm trying to make time for my friends and family because they hadn't seen me in so long, and then they get upset, and then, yeah, so all of that has definitely been the biggest challenge, just trying to find a nice balance between getting all the work done, passing everything, managing your stress, doing things that you like, and getting to people that you like. You know, all of that together, it's basically impossible. My family actually struggled with it a lot because they're so used to me being there every single day. Now they have to get used to me being away for most of the week, and then when I do come home, they anyway don't get to spend time with me. And even though they did understand that I had to work, it was still definitely something that we all had to get used to. That has definitely been the most difficult part of my studies, just keeping everything balanced. In that way, I think it's actually better to stay in res, because then you get to spend time with all your friends there, you have time for your studies, the friends that you do have there understand how much studies are, so they can also help you can study together, and then when you do leave, it's usually on holiday, and then you have a bit more time to balance all the other things. So it's sort of divided into different sections, whereas I had to do that every single week and weekend and just sort of manage all of it, and it was definitely a very, very draining time, and definitely something that I do not want to repeat. But yeah, that has definitely been the most difficult thing that I've had to deal with in my studies. Question 5. What do you love most about vet studies at UP? So definitely the animals. It is just the best thing, and I know people will be like, yeah, but obviously you want to be a vet, but you really, as a vet student, when you're on OP campus, every now and then take a moment and just realize what is going on around you. How many people actually have a chance to work, to have their life at this place where there are animals everywhere, where you get to work with the animals, where your work is learning about the animals. Like, as a vet, one of the things that made me want to be a vet all my life is my love for animals. And now the work that I do, you know how you've always had to work, you've always had schoolwork, you've always had, you know, first year at university, you know, you were working, you always had something to do. And now you get to work with something that you love all the time. Your entire life revolves around this thing that you love, and it is so amazing to be able to walk around on campus and, oh, there's a sheep, there are some vet students chasing a cow, you know, here are horses, there are dogs, you know, you get to work with all these things that you love, and they're there all the time. How many people work on a campus that works like that? So that is definitely my favorite part, and it is such an amazing thing. In your second year, did you like one of the OP reses? So OP only has one res. It has different buildings and different floors and all of that, but it only has one res, and no one in my year was on OP res, because what happened was that they were renovating res, so they didn't have enough space for the second years, so they ended up making space in main campus res for all the OP students, and then they had to be taken with a bus to campus and back every day. So you were either in private accommodation or you were on main campus. So we have never been in OP res, so that is also one of the reasons why I haven't done a res video yet. But as soon as everything is a little bit back to normal, considering renovations and this whole pandemic and all of that, and someone has been in res for a considerable amount of time and they can give you a proper overview of what it's like, I will definitely get them in to come and answer the question, so I will do a video on that as well. What was your first week at university like, the orientation week? So, orientation week, in one word, it was boring. It was very enjoyable. It had some very important parts that I definitely would not want to miss, but I also feel like it was something that they could have done in about 3 days instead of 5. So the first 2 days were very interesting because we got to go to OP campus and we got to see everything around there. We had a campus tour, we got to meet some of the lecturers, we got to sort of get an idea of what our studies would be like, so that was amazing. It was so good to see that, because, you know, you're sort of all excited, you're a vet student now and you just can't wait, and you've worked for this your whole life. And then first year is really nothing to do with vet studies. So it was nice to just have that time from orientation week to remember, like, oh, it'll get better. we'll get there, we'll eventually be there, and then all of these interesting stuff we'll actually be able to apply. So the first 2 days were a lot of fun. Orientation week was also definitely a great time to meet people at university. One of my best friends from campus I met on the first day of orientation week because we were both late and lost. Then there were also a lot of, especially on main campus, a lot of motivational speaking, encouragement, do your best, all of that, which is good and a lot of people need it. For me, it was just sort of, after about a whole day of it, you get the idea. There was also a campus tour which helped a lot of people, but I am not very good with remembering stuff in general. So I did not remember anything from the campus tour. I didn't remember where anything was. I had to walk each route about 20 times before I had any idea where it was. So yeah, that wasn't a great help to me, but it did help a lot of other people. There was also just a lot of, safety protocols, stuff like that. So definitely things that you do need to know. But like I said, I feel like they could have done it in 3 days rather than 5. So a bit boring, but definitely had some interesting aspects. It was a lot of fun to get to see both campuses, and it was also a great opportunity to meet a lot of the people that you're going to study with. Question 8. Are Clippies and Cola still alive? I saw them on an OP-Res video. Now, I don't know how much judgment I'm going to get for this, but I have no idea who or what Clippies and Cola is. It might be because of the pandemic, it might be because I'm a completely antisocial person. I don't know why, but I have no idea. I am very sorry. If anyone knows who or what they are, and if they are still alive, please let us know in the comments, because I honestly have no idea. So please educate me. I really hope that I'm not going to receive too much judgment for this, because I feel like it's something that I'm supposed to know, and I just don't, because I'm an antisocial person who never attends anything. Question 9. What has been your favorite subject this year? My least hated module. Okay, so I'll be honest, this year didn't go great. A lot of the modules didn't live up to what they were supposed to. We also had a couple of new modules that have never been there before, so they were completely confusing. I'll do a whole video on this year's modules where I explain everything, but I think the short answer would be my favorite module was VET, which is veterinary ethology, basically animal handling and behavior and all of that. So the work itself was really interesting. I am fascinated by animal behavior. It was one of my favorite parts of vet science. So we got to learn a lot about that, so I loved that part. Then obviously it also had the animal handling part, so we had the practicals for that. Obviously we didn't have practicals throughout the year like we were supposed to. We just had the practical boot camp at the end of the year. I do have a video on that. Even though we didn't get to physically do the practicals, it was still a lot of fun to see what was expected of us, how we would have to do it, and then to actually apply it in the boot camp. And we also had practical exams. So the content of that was definitely my favorite. Then I also have to say that one of my favorite modules was anatomy. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of judgment for this one, but anatomy was one of those subjects where you go, this work is so awesome and interesting if it didn't have to be crammed in this short amount of time. So that was definitely, it was an emotionally wrecking subject. It broke me to the bone, but it still had the most interesting work I had ever seen. And also it was one of those subjects where you don't just learn the theory, you also apply it. So we did actually have to do dissection. So it felt like all the things that we had learnt about since like 4th grade, everything that is supposed to work so perfectly in theory, you get to see it in front of you, and you get to like pull on the ligaments and make the leg move and stuff. It was amazing. It was so much fun. So, the dissections and stuff like that, and the content was all very interesting, all very enjoyable. It's just the fact that it was pushed into such a small amount of time, and, so much pressure and all of that just made it horrible. But the work itself was amazing, and it's definitely something that, it was also one of those subjects where I had to stop and pause now and then and be like, I'm a vet student, I'm actually doing what I've wanted to do all my life. I get to do this. Look at what I'm doing now. I'm being a vet student. I'm learning how to be a vet. It's my lifelong dream. So it was one of those subjects that just really made everything very real. So I definitely enjoyed it a lot. Was anyone in your family a vet, and how did you decide to pursue BVSC? For anyone who doesn't know, BVSC is Bachelor's in Veterinary Science. BSc is Bachelor's in Science. Whatever is, Bachelor's in whatever. So BVSC is basically just vet science. No one in my family is a vet. My dad's cousin's wife is actually a vet, but they live far from us, so we don't have a lot of contact with them. I know my mum wanted to be a vet, but never managed to get in. So, I don't know, you could say that it runs in the family to want to do it. Basically, I decided that I wanted to be a vet because I loved animals, I loved working with them, I loved working with people, and honestly, one of the best things for me, ever, one of my favorite things is to see an animal progress, you know, whether it is in training or in age, you know, like a puppy growing up, it is so satisfying. And, you know, something like a wound healing over time, you know, something like a dog that is sick and you give them medicine, you see how they improve, that visual improvement, you can see it happening. It is the most amazing thing to me. And for someone to be able to do that, to give that to a dog, you know, a dog that is suffering, and to be able to reverse that, to give a dog a better life, that was the thing that pushed me to wanting to become a vet, is to make a difference in an animal's life. And I loved working with them, and I loved working with people. And then when I started shadowing, I was so nervous that I had built this thing up in my head. And what if it isn't the way I imagine it at all? What if I cannot stand the people? What if I cannot stand the blood? What if I cannot stand seeing an animal in pain? And then when I was there and I got to do these things and see these things and see how vets operated and see how I would have to do it and decide how I would have to do it, all of that just made it so much easier for me to decide. It was just the only thing that I ever wanted to do. I just knew that that was it. I wanted to help. I wanted to make a difference. It was something that challenged me. It was something that I enjoyed. It was something that I found fulfilling. It was just everything that I ever wanted. And when I had to apply for university and they were like, okay, what is your second choice? You know, what would you like to do just in case you don't get into this one? And I remember I was so scared because I did not have a plan B at all. There was nothing else that I wanted to do. If I did not get into vet, I had nothing. There wasn't even something that I ever so slightly wanted to consider. I ended up putting BSc Zoology as my second choice, just because you can apply for vet school from there as well. I'll do a whole video on what to do if you don't get in the first time, and then you have to, you know, how you go from there, how you reapply, all of that. But one of the methods is by studying BSc Zoology, and then you can reapply from that course. So yeah, so that was what I did. I ended up putting that as my second choice, but honestly, vet was the only thing I ever wanted to do. I've not looked back. I have doubted myself, definitely doubted whether I'm able to do vet, but never doubted that vet was what I wanted to do. So yeah, it has just been something that I've known all my life. But yeah guys, that was all the questions. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you again, Ashley Prince, for the amazing questions. I enjoyed it so much. If any of you guys have any more questions that you would like to ask me, you can just leave a comment below, or you can send me an email. I'll have my email linked in the description. And then also please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. I hope you have an amazing day. Bye guys!